When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the Wild. Septum Sin versus the Wild. Septum Sin versus the Wild. Septum Sin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching Septum Sen vs. the World. I'm Septum Sen. This is Kotobuki Jake.
Hi.
And we're here to show you what we got.
Show me what you got. I want to see what you got. Oh boy.
Alright. I'm going to start off by showing off the last of my shirts. Just, you know.
I love movies.
I do. I do. That's the point of this channel, right? Or part of it. And I have one that I heart physical media too, which is kind of cool. So I guess I'll start us off with a double feature, which I watched recently and was mildly disappointed with. But I bought out a lot of the studio stuff too, so I gotta wonder. This is the Metrosia. Who made the thing? I think it made a film called Snow. Yep, there it is. They made Snow Shark, which I have shown on this channel before. And this is a series they did called Dorothy the Pig. So there's 2 volumes here. Manifestation of a Good Idea. You see there? Looks so cool, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And The Comedy Moment. The way this comes across is a bunch of people got together and said, you know, we'll just film some comedy shorts and see how it turns out. And that's not always a bad thing.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, you all will notice these are probably the 2 that I'm going to be holding up for the thumbnail. But
Highlights, huh?
I don't know. It's a couple of them did make me chuckle.
Good.
I mean, there was one about somebody who was obsessing over Kiefer Sutherland, and I thought that was somewhat good. And they had one that was at the end of it, which kind of made fun of the movie Pi. You know, the end where he takes the drill, except he's got a hammer. But instead of drilling through the head, he starts playing the hammer like a flute, and then people just kind of follow him like a weird Pied Piper. And I'll admit, it has sort of almost a Benny Hill-ish type quality to it that I did find funny. And this one had some funny stuff, maybe. The puppet stuff was interesting. So, you know, check them out. I mean, they're not expensive. And I do like to support small media. I just, if you're not thick-skinned, if you are one of those snowflake-type people, you know who you are. Who is easily offended, don't pick them up.
Right.
Their humor is not for you.
Yeah.
I mean, here, look at this name of this one. You know that would trigger some people.
This one reminds me of that opening scene from Frankenhooker.
Yeah. Starting us out with some winners here.
Speaking of winners, I'm going to present as one item, because reasons, a pile of films that he gave me. They're high quality ones. I have frankly only seen the first one, and it is a classic, indeed, an indisputable classic, and it is the film Sharknado. And I will follow that up with Sharknado 2, the second one. Sharknado 3, Oh, hell no. Sharknado, The Fourth Awakens. And Sharknado Global Swarming. If that doesn't scream quality, I don't know what does.
Oh, yeah. They're fun films.
I did enjoy the first one. It was stupid humor from start to finish. But it was, for what it was pretty good. So, I'm kind of, me being a little OCD, I'm not fully crazy about the different formatting here. But then again, it's Sharknado. Who really cares all that much?
Yeah, actually,
And
probably
it's-
go with that set, probably.
And, I'm kind of looking forward to tackling the sequels. I may regret this at the end, but it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh, and I do apologize for the dogs barking in the background. We tried walking them to get them quiet down, but they don't know him very well, so whenever they hear his voice, they start barking. They're barky dogs.
No, they're just excited because we were talking about Sharknado.
Yeah, that's true. They might like Sharknado. But hopefully, because of the microphone, it'll pick up us more than them.
Right.
So, last time I think they could barely be heard when they're in the background, so that's a good thing.
Right.
Alright, so my next one is slightly better in quality. And that is The Incredibles 2.
Ooh.
I picked this up for $10. I can't remember when it was. I think it was one of those deals, and I just couldn't pass it up. I mean, $10 at Target.
That's pretty good.
I was like, okay.
I wish I could have done that.
I had to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, this one follows along the same path as the second one in a way. I mean, the first one. In a way, it's a direct sequel. It literally picks up right after the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of those similar themes of, being special, actually just being special, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like they backtracked a lot, where they made so many gains in the first one, and then they were back to square one about people not liking heroes as much at the beginning of this one.
Mm-hmm.
But it had a lot of good themes. They presented the story well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very well animated, and the action scenes are very fun, especially where Jack fights a raccoon.
That was great.
So
One of the best fights of the year.
So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out.
And this includes Bao, too, doesn't it?
I think this one does. Yeah, this one does include Bao.
So, Oscar-winning...
So,
right?
yeah, this one was
short.
a Oscar-winning short, so you should definitely check it out.
Mm-hmm. All right. And now for something completely different. I'm going to return briefly. A couple weeks ago, I presented a crap ton of really awesome films that I got from the library, and I kind of mentioned that I shaved off just a little bit of that purchase. I had 2 individual films. That night, I basically did sets. I had 2 individual films left over. And this one actually harkens back to one of the sets. You may recall there was a Vincent Price set. This is actually a film that I really do need to see, and I'm rather happy to pick up. Another Vincent Price film, and it's, I believe, the original, The House on Haunted Hill.
Hunty Hill.
On Haunted Hill, yes. But no, The House on Haunted Hill, is this the original? It's definitely
That
an
is the
older one.
original, and actually, it's kind of odd for the timing, because I think that Dave might be picking that for his birthday film for June.
Oh, good. That'd give me an excuse to watch it. It's great. And I'll definitely have to watch the hilarious audio commentary by Mike Nelson of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yes. So this could be good. But I saw that. I was like, oh, man, I got to get that. So
I got a trio of terror that had they were all Vincent Price films. It had The Terror in it, and it had House on Haunted Hill, which is the main reason I got it. And I think there was another one, but I can't think of it right now. But it is a good film. I actually think it's as good, if not better, than the remake.
I didn't
makes
really...
you think a little more.
I was not really that blown away by the remake.
Well, again, it's just something for people who really like horror and those
Yeah.
kind of horror movies. It's just that way.
All right.
All right, so next up is a film that
It is a film.
inspired a generation. It was the first film that we covered on Inside Movies Galore when I debuted, and I came across with the very wrong idea. And we are talking about The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, man.
So, this is a love story about Tommy and his wife, but she doesn't love him. She loves somebody else, his friend. And you have to watch this love triangle. And somebody has cancer, and we never follow up with that. But it's...
There
have
were
you
a
seen
lot of...
this?
No, I need to. I did see The Disaster Artist, so I'm familiar with a good portion of what happens in the film.
And I've never seen The Disaster Artist, so it is very poorly put together.
Yes.
And I remember watching this thinking to myself, well, this is supposed to be an artsy film discussion group, right?
Yeah, I don't know where you got that
So
idea.
I hadn't watched it before. And the only one I'd watched was one that Dean was doing.
Yeah.
And you know how artsy Dean is. I thought to myself, this must always be about like artistic stuff in film. So I was trying to figure out why this film is good. And I was racking my brains. This film looks so terrible. I don't know if I can figure out the best way on this. But if you get a chance, you should
I need to
look
go
up.
back and watch. I need to watch.
You should
that
watch
one.
the Inside Movies Galore, The Room video. He's actually got it up on podcasting as well.
Okay.
So if you got Anchor, one of your favorite podcasting venues, you can catch it there as well. I recorded a nice little intro to that one, as a matter of fact. It's bad.
Yeah.
It is one of the bad films.
Yes. Like I said, I saw The Disaster Artist, so if even half of that film was accurate, this was a train wreck of colossal proportions.
Oh my God.
And they actually did have a fun feature at the end of the film. They played scenes from the film as done in the film, and scenes from the original film side by side, and that was really interesting. So that's the most I've seen of The Room. But next, speaking, well, actually, let's say to go on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, my next film is an Oscar winner.
Oh.
Yes. The film itself was, but it was an Oscar winner for original score, and it did have a pretty phenomenal score. And that is the film The Red Violin,
Yeah.
which featured Samuel L. Jackson, Greta Scacchi, Jason Fleming, Don McKellar. Who else was in there? Anyone I know? Sylvia Chang, Colm Fiore. It's directed by Francois Girard. It was a decent film. It's sort of a thriller kind of, but with a strong emphasis on music. If I remember correctly, the titular Red Violin was like this really... it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, the idea of almost a cursed object handed down through the generations. It's supposed to be like this brilliant violin, but I think it like curses people. I don't remember it very well.
Oh, so that's why Sam Jackson's in it. It's cursing people. He plays the violin, right?
But it does have a phenomenal score. So definitely, if you enjoy a movie that has good music, if you're trying to get up on your Oscar winners or whatever, I had to get this because I do collect Oscar films. But for $1, I was like, hell yeah.
I got my copy relatively cheap, too. Not that cheap, but cheap. This one, speaking of Oscar, this one was not a winner, but it was a nominee. And a very high-profile animation nominee. I think I actually have all of the nominees now. And that is Mirai.
Oh, I still need to get that. Oh.
I made this purchase as an impulse buy. I probably shouldn't have. But I wanted it. and it is a really good film. And its main star is this child, which is probably the one thing that leaves it slightly annoying to me, because I have a hard time with annoying children starring in films for a long period. But it's played correctly, because a child of that age is annoying. He is, his mother has another child, and he's no longer the center of attention, so this bugs him a lot. But he also has this weird magical garden that allows for anthropomorphic dogs and a gateway through time. And this is truly a magical experience. It is a Mamoru Hosoda film. Though it is not my favorite of his, it is a highly ranked film. I don't think this one might make your top 10 for movies, but I don't think it'll make mine.
I feel like Hosoda will end up cranking my top 10. It's hard. I still haven't
Hosoda
decided
will
which
be
one.
on there for Summer Wars for me, probably, but I don't know if he'll be on here for Mirai. It's a really good one.
It's really good. Again, the fact that the kid is such an annoying brat is a little bit of a barrier.
But realistic.
But very realistic, yes. A&N called it probably the most realistic portrayal of the sheer exhaustion of a young child.
They play it one step better than Babadook.
Yeah.
Babadook played it to where you really were with the woman wanting to kill the kid towards the end. But you didn't really want to kill the kid here. You were annoyed at him, but you were sympathetic towards him as well. So
Exactly.
it's different.
Yes. And it was very intriguing and beautiful and gorgeous. And if this had not been the same year as Into the Spider-Verse, I would have been ticked that Mirai didn't win. But Spider-Verse was awesome, so you know.
Yes.
At any rate, speaking of the animated films that came out last year, but on a very different end of the spectrum, this is actually, we're briefly going to dip into my Black Friday pickups, or Black Friday/holiday pickups. This, sadly, was one of the most expensive pickups I made on Black Friday when I went to Best Buy. I think it cost me $8. Seemed like a good idea at the time. But it is one I wanted, if only to be contrary, because I know most people would look at me like, what the hell are you thinking? Kind of like people getting the room for their collection. But this was a better film from what I understand.
Well, it's hard to really,
But this is a film that I had to get, and you knew I had to get if you watch this channel, and that is Teen Titans Go to the Movies. And it's interesting. Let's just put it that way.
See, I couldn't do it, because if I got it, I would have to get the show. And I despise the show.
Movies are separate from shows.
I admit, I do have the Simpsons movie, but they're never going to release the whole thing on DVD,
Right.
so I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But that one, just no.
It was a decent movie. There was way too much childish humor, and I was disappointed by it overall. But it made me smile, and I figured, what the hell, it's worth having.
For the longest time, it had a better rating than the Infinity War movie.
And the sad thing is, this cost me more than that whole pile put together. Twice as much as that whole pile put together. Oh.
Alright, this next one, I'd gotten in an anime. Matter of fact, the rest of this is going to be half of an anime lot I purchased for about $100. And the other half is used, so I'm watching it first before I can enter it in my collection. But we'll start off with One Punch Man,
Ooh.
Season 1.
Nice.
This is about a man who starts an exercise routine that makes him stronger than most any other anime character. He does 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 crunches, and runs 10 kilometers every day, no skipping. and that allows him to be the strongest man in the world.
So skipping makes you weak? Is that what you're saying?
You can't skip. No skip days.
Oh. No, I was
Also-
saying skipping.
So it has 12 episodes plus the 6 OVAs. It's not too badly priced regularly, but I got it cheaper than the regular price, which
Right.
is good. It has a bunch of weird villains, and it really is a parody of shonen anime. So I've heard lots of good things.
Yeah.
And now that I have it on physical media, I have less of an excuse. I probably should watch this.
Except that since it's new, you'll probably not get to it for years.
I have a lot
I
in
want
front
to.
of it.
Yeah.
NIS, once I get
Yeah.
through the used,
Right.
the NIS stuff is probably going to block it for
Right,
a little
right.
while.
I do want to see that one. And I've actually got a little bit of anime coming up here. And this one was part of the Sentai sales. This one, I believe you were the one that gave it to me on DVD. But to be honest, I really wanted it on Blu-ray, in part because I knew I would never get to it on DVD. This is one that came highly acclaimed to me from one of my coworkers at the time, and I would really like to see it. And I think I got the Blu-ray for $8, so I will be donating my DVD copy to the library because they need to have it in the collection. Dang it! And that is Tonari no Seki-kun, the Master of Killing Time, which I think I presented before. So you've had a summary, but it's basically about a dude who is an extraordinarily creative time waster, and the girl who can't pay attention in class because of this.
It's not
Yes.
too bad. I've seen it, and have you watched that one yet?
I want to. I haven't opened it yet.
It's a bunch of short episodes, and he is very creative in what he
21
does,
episodes.
and nobody notices what he does except for her.
Right.
Which is, I guess, the funny part. And watching it too many episodes at once, he does start to grate on you. Much like he does her. So, yeah, I was rooting for her at the end.
Should be fun.
Alright, one that's an extremely popular series. The second season is starting to come out here in the United States, but hasn't been released yet. So I've got all that's released of it right now, and that is ReZero.
Ah.
I've got... I can't look at which are the volumes. Well, this is one volume. And here is the other one. Brand new. Never opened.
Nice.
And with the Viz pricing, not Viz, with Funimation's pricing on it, this actually was a very good deal. So after suffering, okay, I think it's over here. Being Natsuki Subaru is suffering. After being suddenly transported to a world unlike his own, he discovers a terrible truth. He can't die. Or rather, he can't remain dead. Instead, Subaru experiences the pain of death and the reality that he must start life over from a predetermined save point. At first, the ability seems like a gift, a way to make things right and save the girl he loves. But before he does, the more tragedy he experiences, the more he begins to lose his mind. So it's an interesting concept. You always see memes with these two.
Right.
So I will be curious about that to just understand them.
Sounds a little bit like it's in the same wheelhouse as Steins Gate in a lot of ways, but not quite. But a lot
Yeah.
of ways, this could be interesting. So my last couple are if you watched, or rather when you watched, our Friday. Was it Friday that we put out the previous pickup one?
Yep.
We had a little bit of a delay last week,
I had no voice.
Yes, which makes it hard to do a video where we talk. But we did do a pickup a little bit late. And, of course, you may recall he presented something from Second and Charles. And I could not let that pass. I had to go see what there was.
You shall not pass!
Exactly. And I didn't find anything that earth-shattering, but I did pick up a couple things at pretty reasonable prices that they were both on my long-term I need to get this list. It's always nice to knock things off of that list. And one of them, the timing was particularly good because we have the upcoming Avengers movie. So there's still a handful of MCU films I needed to add to my collection. And I now have one that is the most tangential one, but still, I now have The Incredible Hulk.
Woo.
Which I managed to get on Blu-ray for $6.25, which is actually pretty damn good for these movies.
We have watched that one now. We did rewatch that one.
This is it's a good movie. I've only seen it once. It was more. They did not like the original Hulk. I liked it, but no one else did. And they wanted to do more of a Hulk smash kind of movie, but apparently Edward Norton couldn't keep his mouth shut and ended up getting essentially fired, and they just kind of swept this one under the rug. It's sort of, the main relationship it still has with the MCU is William Hurt as Thunderbolt Ross, but it's still pretty good. It's worth getting. Ed Norton, Liv Tyler, William Hurt, Tim Roth is Abomination.
And I love the cameos from Lou Ferrigno and
oh yeah, Lou Ferrigno is in that, isn't he? And like I said, I'm glad to finally have it. I did not want to pay a lot for this one. The cheapest I think I've seen it is $11. So getting it for half that, I'm good with that.
Well, last but not least for me is a show called Sweet Blue Flowers. Now, this is one of those that is possibly a sad one. Tears have always come easy to Fumi, but as a child, she could count on her best friend Akira to cheer her up. After a decade apart, Fumi and Akira find themselves reunited by chance. But even as two girls rediscover their friendship with the start of a new school year, Fumi becomes romantically involved with a tall, charismatic girl named Sugimoto. Fumi soon finds herself playing a balancing act between friendship and love. So, it'll be an interesting kind of Yuri-type series.
I was going to say, it's a well-known Yuri series. But and that's a Lucky Penny release, I do believe.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one I've been wanting to get.
I've been curious for a while. It's got a good rating to it, so...
And my last one, once again, this has been on my to-get list for so long it's not even funny. This was one of those ones, back in the day when I was getting into anime, I would see this title on the shelf again and again and again and just never got around to it. And finally, when I was at Second Charles, they had a copy of it for $15, and I was like, it's about time. So I went ahead and got Kitty Grade.
Yay!
So I don't know an extraordinary amount about this series. I know it has a mid-grade rating. It's not considered a classic, but it's
got
decent.
a lipstick lip.
It's got a what?
A lipstick whip.
A lipstick whip. That sounds fun. But at any rate, like I said, I saw that and I was like, it's about time this came off the to-get list. And 15, like I said, is not a bad price for a complete collection.
Yeah, that's about like what I got mine for.
So,
and
good times.
It was, to me, I haven't seen it, but I've seen all the advertising, and that's that's one of the rare times the advertising got me to buy it.
Good times.
So, tell us in the comments what you've picked up this week. And, of course, like our video, subscribe, and share.
And tune in for our list of the best anime in our collection.
Yes, that'll be at the end of the week, so you should be enjoying it.
Very good.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.